And so that's kind of been like two demons fighting inside of me. But it's good because it teaches you different ways to play the game. I think like the way football is art, so like sometimes there's not one size fits all. Like you have to know the situation, and having those different voices, like it's helpful because it adds to what I can do in a given situation. It just adds to my toolbox and my bag. So it's been great. I think I feel for some of the younger guys because if you have like establish yourself with a coach, like always competing voices, you might not know. You might have had bad habits from your coaches, but that hasn't been something I've ever done.
Mike Tressel was saying that it's important to actually have a personal relationship with your position coach too. He said that's hard to do if you keep getting changes. How long do you normally need to get comfortable with your position coach where you can talk about more than football and you can go to him if you need to? Have you reached that point?
How long does it take?
Have you reached that point with Tressel yet?
Sure. So I think I will say that it's important to have a personal relationship with your coach. It's like your doctor. Like you trust that your doctor knows medicine, whether or not you're friends with your doctor. I think after that, having a personal relationship is the cherry on top. With that being said, all the coaches that have come through have been super great about getting to know the players, getting to know us as individuals. I feel like Coach Tressel and I we have a good relationship. I'm not talking about girls, okay? Or you feel me? But like we have good conversations. Appreciate him as a person, and there's a closeness that just grows over time. You can't really rush that. But at the end of the day, like I said, like I trust Coach Tressel knows his shit, and so like I'm not going to my doctor like, hey, I need to know your personal life before you treat me. You know, it's the same thing with Coach Tressel.
I'd like to see Tressel's reaction if you went to him talking about girls.
We might get there. Who knows? Spring ball's long now.
With someone that's you've seen grow since you came here, Jake Chaney, just how has he evolved from when he was a freshman to what you're seeing now?
Yeah, Chaney's my guy. He's my roommate, so I'm biased. But when he first came here, he was like, he was 17 when he first came here. Like, dude, still a kid, didn't have his driver's license. Give him shit for it all the time. You know, from South Florida, never been up to Wisconsin, just culture shock for him. But I think he's adjusted. Now this is social. He's adjusted to be like great guy, well known on the team, like friends with anybody. On the football field, I think he always knew his stuff. Always was super twitchy, super athletic. Got playing time early because of that. But I think he went from kind of just being, a contributor to now being like a big time role player, as you saw last year. I think the sky's the limit for him. I think his football knowledge has increased exponentially, and he has been such a help on and off the field. Like whether it's extra film sessions, whether it's like, hey bro, like I noticed this, like maybe we should talk about this. Like how are you thinking about this? Because we play the same position. So he's just been helping me sharpen my sword, and I hope I've been helping him. So.
Well, you know how deeply talented this room is. Obviously, in Georgia, number one's in the rotations for spring practices, but that helped the competition with all the guys that you have in your position. How does that help you? How does it help the guys in total kind of learn their identities?
Yeah, man, I think how does the competition help them? Well, I think it's easy to get complacent at anywhere you are. Having that kind of dog chasing you behind, on your heels chasing you, just remind you, like, and you're not there yet. That's huge, because even if in a scenario where there's, like, let's say there's no competition in the room, there's still competition around the country. You're trying to be the best linebacker in the country, and it's easy to forget that when you don't have someone in the room behind you. So when you have that in the room, it's like, all right, let me try and beat this guy first, and then worry about everyone else. And that keeps us going, keeps me going. Like I said, Chaney's been huge in that aspect, and the other guys have been too.
Top 4, top 5 going back to the first snap last year. Consistent playing time. What do you feel is the difference? Do you guys feel more comfortable, more mature, more deep?
The difference this year in terms of
just how you feel.
Oh,
Feel
sure.
more comfortable?
Yeah, I feel more comfortable. I mean, more experience too. I think when you haven't started or really played, like I didn't have any major snaps in like games that mattered last year, and so I think what happens is you don't really understand what it takes. Like you'll have coaches tell you like, oh, make sure you shift to this alignment versus this motion, or make sure you're in this gap versus this one. And it's like, oh, coaches are saying that, and then you get out there and let's say you don't to that alignment, you miss an interception, or you're slightly off in the gap that you're supposed to be in, and like running back cuts it up for a touchdown. You learn those lessons, like, oh shit, like this, the little things like actually matter. And so now having gone through a whole year of just like ups, downs, ins, outs, like really understanding what it takes gives me a personal edge, and then something that I can try and impart on younger guys. Like, hey, I know it feels like this is enough, but what you're doing actually isn't going to cut it. Or, hey, what you're doing is in fact going to cut it. You need to keep up like crazy the standard. So that's I think been the biggest thing, because it gives me a confidence, and then it gives me like okay, how do I evaluate myself?
Going off there, would you say you guys are able to play faster? Or you're able to play faster so far?
I definitely think I've been playing faster. I think there's an aspect of still letting the defense. It's early, but I've been a lot more confident.
You've recognized that there's a storied history here with the defense, and with the new coaching staff coming in, a lot of them have talked about upholding those traditions that Wisconsin has, but also adding their own little mix. And how have you seen maybe Tressel do that with you guys, or just something the coaching staff in general that's new to this program?
It's new to this program. Well, I think what I really like is, because honestly their job right now is like building culture, and I really like how they've approached that. It's really been interesting, like watching how they build culture. I think I could speak on a bunch of things, but one just little thing that seems a little bit goes a long way is like we don't call inside run anymore. It's like pride period, because we take pride in what we do in the box. We have like the pillars of Badger defense. And that we have like these phrases that's like, okay, this is what we're built on, this is what we believe in. It's been really cool because I think sometimes you have culture, and it's like everyone kind of has a ambiguous, touchy-feely understanding of what culture is, but these guys have like defined it. This is what we are, and then it's super easy to be like, hey, you're not, what you did wasn't the same. And it's super easy to call people out, hold them accountable at the end of the day, and then ultimately uplift the standard. So that's been really cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch I can speak of, but that jumps out at me.
For the inside linebacker group, there's been a lot of production, especially since, Jim took over as defensive coordinator before he even came here. But one, is it still known as Death Row, the inside linebacker group, or did that pass on? And then two is how do you try to carry on that tradition of carrying production at the inside linebacker spot?
Yes, first it is still Death Row. I think we stepped away from Death Row for a little bit. We were to be determined, and then guys wanted it back, and so we're back. But yeah, continuing the tradition of production. I mean, honestly, it's not even the tradition of, really it's the tradition of like doing your job and executing at a really high level. That's really what the tradition is, and then the result will be production. So it's not like, oh, I need to make sure I have this many tackles. It's really like, I need to make sure I'm doing my job over and over and consistently. And the production will come. So that's upholding that standard of the approach, intention, the execution. Like that's been my biggest goal. And I think having a guy like Chaney in the room has like made sure that like I say that's what I'm about, and make sure I'm actually about that. So it's been really fun.
I think we talked to Colton last week about it, but you mentioned about watching the tape of Ivan Pace Jr. from last year in Cincinnati's defense. And talking to Mike earlier today, he's talking about things that you can take away that are similar to his game, but also staying true to yourself. How do you try to reconcile what you see on film from someone like Ivan, but also knowing your skill sets and what you could become, but also know who you are within a defense too?
I think that's something that takes time. One thing I appreciate about Coach Chris, he always was like, you know, I like the season because it's like a book. Like characters, you know, like early on in the season, we're still being introduced to the characters. You don't even know the main plot points yet. And I think in many ways, spring ball is the same way. Like this arc, spring ball, we have spring ball, summer, then fall camp, then season. Like I think players are still, like you're just still learning what this character likes, you know. So I think I'm still introducing myself into this defense, still, you know, defining my main characteristics. And then I think after that, that's when you start adding the extra. That's when you start evolving, but you still have to have a base of foundation of who you are. So that's what I'm still working on right now. And I feel like after spring ball, I have a clear picture of going into the summer. This is what I can add, take away from his game, take away from this guy's game. But I need to first learn how to play in this defense. I think that's what spring ball is critical for.
Talking about the looks, some of the interesting 2-3-6 looks, maybe even 3-3-5 looks, but some of these looks have a lighter box, right? Less players in the box, maybe 5 compared to 6 or 7 that you had in the past. What does that do for the linebackers and the responsibilities that they have, and how you guys have been able to adjust to that?
Yeah, I mean, what that does is you have to be cleaner on your technique, but you also have to realize that it also puts the offense in a bind because they don't really know how to block that. And so sometimes they'll be like, someone's just left open and it's like, fuck, TFL, sack. It also means you have to be more aggressive, more creative in how you play. I thought that would be a problem, but in spring ball it's been good so far, and it's actually helped me open up, loosen up a little bit, play better, faster. So definitely unique looks lead to more unique ways of playing different runs. And kind of what I touched on earlier, like my old coach was kind of traditionalist, power, pro style offense. Like this is how you fit this play, this is how you fit this play. But when you play a defense like this, you can't really be that rigid. You have to be more fluid. So.
And talking about also the personnel, I mean, you talked about playing faster. That's been kind of the norm, playing aggressive, playing faster. That's what the coach has been saying. But how do you match the aggressiveness and fast with discipline? Because obviously that's also one of the most important parts for linebackers.
Yeah, so when you talk about discipline, I think about technique discipline and eye discipline. And what's interesting is the way we're practicing is going to force us in a game, I can imagine, and coaches have spoken to this. When you get in that, the thing about that makes games hard is like the chaos and confusion of the battlefield. Like, you know, maybe things don't go the way you plan them to be or what have you. But the way we practice at the speed and tempo we do is we're like kind of practicing that confusion of like, oh shit, I don't know what's going on, I'm out of breath, I'm tired, I'm not getting the call, the offense is snapping the ball, and learning to just practice that and then grade yourself, like how's my technique, how are my eyes, how's my hands, and doing that over and over again, you only get better at technique, hands, eyes when you're tired. And so it's a process, but over time you get better at that. The first weekend I've already felt myself get better. I'm excited for that.
We were talking to your guy over there. He wanted to know why you're in an outfit, and we explained it to him. He goes, I'm not buying it. He goes, I don't believe it.
What is the reason?
I have a fucking I have class. Oh, he's a hater. Ask him if those glasses are real. They're not. They're not real.
Is that real?
Hey, don't talk to me, bro. Talk to the cameras. Ask him if the glasses are real. They're not.
No, and we said no, and his whole grade depends on it. I'm not buying it because I don't believe it.
I mean, right now, I ain't. What class you got to wear a suit to?
I'm in my master's program. Master's of
okay.
Finance. I'm a victim. You're right.
And if you see him on campus driving a car, I watch out because he might try to run you over. Because we told him
He
about the
can't
driver.
drive.
No, we told him about the driver's. He's got his license now. He said.
Ask him to show you. He's got his license. He has a permit. He's got his license.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord.
You gotta get out of here.